Hey, we welcome you into another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show on a, there's supposed to be rain in the forecast at some point today, Booch. So, eventually,
I haven't noticed any rain.
I've heard we could get some today. So keep your umbrella handy just in case we actually end up getting
unless you're going into the
drop
press
or
box
two.
at Beaver Stadium.
For the love of God,
I'm
not even getting anywhere near that. Never again. It has been a little rainy here in the beloved Valley of Happiness.
And it started last night. Like, it has just not stopped raining since, I think, 5, 6 o'clock yesterday. I just feel like it's been steady rain.
Yep.
I'm glad we ain't got any recruits on campus right now.
This would not be the great.
I always keep track of these Penn State recruiting weekends, and
Yeah.
I think to myself, I think there's probably pros and cons. Penn State has always prided itself in truth in advertising to recruits. So in a way, if they come up here and it's cold as hell at the end of March or beginning of April, you're letting them know what they're signing up for. So, if you still get them after that visit, they're solid, right?
Yep. Yes,
on the other hand, you only get to be recruited as a high school athlete once, and you would like to, even if you're ultimately going to end up here, have as much smoke blown up your skirt as possible.
Absolutely.
So you want to go to 75 degrees and sunny on all 5 of your officials. And I do know we had some recruits on campus last weekend, and it was a little chilly, but sunny. It was sunny, not windy.
Yeah.
All things considered, I think Mother Nature did us a solid by Happy Valley standards.
I would wholeheartedly agree with you. It is opening day. This is one of the better days of the sports calendar year, with the Masters getting underway and opening day in Major League Baseball. Fans of a lot of teams can feel optimistic at this time of the year, even if your prospects aren't good. Obviously, the exception to that rule is in Pittsburgh, where there is no chance. I think that the bigger question is, and I know which side I fall on, but can the Pirates match or surpass their 61 win total of a year ago? And
do you want to go on the record right now?
Oh, yeah. I say resoundingly no. I don't think they'll get to 60 wins.
Wow.
I think 59 or fewer.
I remember I was filling in for Goon right at the beginning of Major League Baseball season last year, and we were talking about Pirates win totals. And the over-under was... Yeah, I want to see 68 or somewhere around in there.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it doesn't sound right, but it sounds accurate.
I can't believe they missed it by 7 games.
Yeah. And listen, I have been somewhat pessimistic on the Pirates season. And, obviously the Key Brian Hayes contract, it gives some reason for some optimism looking to the future. But folks are missing out. Actually, I think probably now, all of a sudden, that win total, you're probably 85, 86 as the over-under now, with the great signing of Jake Marisnick right before the season begins. They make that splash. Who saw the Pirates landing somebody that hit 216 last season?
That's like a Tyreek Hill level acquisition. That's big time. That's Denver trading for Russell Wilson.
Welcome to the beloved Pirates, and
unless I missed
it, I'm just.
Did they get rid of that thing Major League Baseball was doing for several years, where they would play one primetime game before all the opening day games and call that opening day? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
They got rid of that, didn't they?
Apparently they did.
I'm glad. I always thought that was silly.
Yeah.
I thought the appeal of
but I'm a little
sports
surprised that
starts
they
with
did.
Day games. I thought that was great.
I'm with you on it, but I'm also surprised because that's Yeah, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, you're right.
I wonder, maybe it was just a casualty of the lockout, but I never
That
liked that.
could
So if
be.
it's gone for good, I am not going to mourn its passing.
I'm with you, but there's a lot of things that are gone for good that I do mourn. So I expect the things that I don't like to stick around.
You know
And
what
listen,
I thought was gone for good?
I'm in the huge minority here, but I am not a fan of the designated hitter.
No,
I'm a fan of
I'm
both
with you.
leagues having the same thing. They just went the wrong direction,
Yeah,
and I
I'm with
understand
you.
why they did, and it makes very good sense from both a player perspective and a business sense, and all of that, and I understand it, and I willingly concede that I'm in the great minority here, but it stinks to me because that's not the way baseball is supposed to be played. But
at
listen,
least
volleyball is not supposed to be played the way it's played anymore at the college level, and they made that change for TV, and it has worked, and this will work. I mean, the numbers, again, I completely understand.
Oh, it's going to be hugely popular.
Yes.
Like, we may as well resign ourselves.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
and again, it's and much along the lines of, I long for the days of having teams that were drafted and kept together and all of that, but free agency, changed it. And again, I think most would argue, and even I certainly concede, in the overall big picture, that was for the better. Selfishly, as a fan, as somebody that liked football the way, and listen, the Steelers winning all those Super Bowls didn't hurt while I was growing up, but I loved football the way that was. But in part, the Steelers winning again helped. But part of it, too, was that you knew baseball, football, the majority of the roster was the same from one season to the next. There was obviously some turnover each year, but not anywhere near the degree that you see these days. And again, we're never going back to that. I get it. Completely understand it, on board and all of it. College athletics, you can lament all you want, and Goon certainly laments it, but we're not going back to players not having name, image, and likeness. And I caught just a part of the Mark Emmert press conference. Did you catch any of that?
No, I saw some quotes from it, but I haven't
mind-boggling.
watched any of it. I can only imagine.
It is. It truly is mind-boggling to me that somebody could be in that leadership role for this length of time and be that clueless and that arrogantly clueless. I mean,
Gary Bettman would like a word, but
fair enough. Yeah,
but no, I'm with you, dude.
But I'm telling you, I think Bettman, at least. I think by Emmert standards, Bettman looks like a genius.
Like Pete Rozelle by comparison. I think Mark Emmert, I'm being 100% honest. I'm not trying to condescend or use this as an insult. I believe he is legitimately dumb. Like, I do not think he is a smart person or even approaching smart.
Well, I do too. But what is a little surprising to me is that nobody apparently in the leadership. I am.
Do you
just
remember
when
he asked Franco Harris if he was on, like, if he played for Penn State, like the 2000s?
Yes. I am a little surprised though with how unbelievably unaware the organization and Emmert seem to be in terms of the evolution of the sports landscape and what is happening legally. And it's, from the outside looking in, it appears that there has been no attempt. And certainly if there was an attempt, it failed miserably to get out ahead of any of this or provide some direction and leadership to the schools, to coaches, to athletes, to anybody. There's just been no, it's almost like he just keeps throwing, and that's what the press conference felt like. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what the future is. Well, why don't you at least lay out what you think the agenda should be? Pretend like you have some sense of what your role should be. And listen, at the end of the day, I think the NCAA, we've been saying this for a while, and maybe as wrong as on this as I am everything else that I predict in sports, but I don't see how the NCAA is in existence in 5 years. There will be some governing body, and I understand that, and I'm not saying there's not going to be. But the NCAA certainly, as we know it, and I guess you could argue that already has gone by the wayside. But I mean, I don't think that organization with that structure that it has right now, and I think the overwhelming majority of the blame for its demise goes to Mark Emmert. There's certainly some other factors, and there were some things that were out of their control. But the absolute abject lack of any vision, any forethought, and I just don't think he ever thinks, to your earlier point, he just never seems to think anything through. And you go back to the whole Penn State decision. I don't want to get down that rabbit hole today, but
no, that's next week when the Paterno thing comes out.
Yes, but honestly, like it's like I'm just gonna make a decision on a whim, and then if it's the wrong decision, I'll have to just live with that regret and make others live with it for a long period of time. And I don't know. I'm just. I truly am stunned. I mean, Gary Bettman, at least, I do think has grown. I don't think he's a great commissioner by any stretch, but I do think he's grown. I do think he's done.
Entering his fourth decade
yes.
as commissioner of the NHL.
Yes,
he's
and
finally learned some lessons.
It's the equivalent. I get it of senators who have been in Washington for 40 years, and hey, now I think I have an idea of how to get some of these bills through. So. I get it, but I do think Bettman at least has that league at the moment, and how much of it you credit Bettman, we could debate, but I do think the NHL with the TV deal right now and with the the players are on board. I think the way the NHL handled the pandemic was as good or better than any other sports organization in terms of and navigating very tough territory.
Yeah, no league had more problem crossing back and forth over the Canadian-USA border, and they handled it better than the other leagues did.
I can't think of a single issue that and there may be some out there. I mean, I haven't spent a lot of time. I'm just thinking this as we're talking here. I truly cannot think of an issue in the last decade plus where I'm like, man, Mark Emmert got that right. Like the NCAA, I don't like them. Like politicians, I don't like. Individuals, I don't like. Organizations, I don't like. I can almost always, I hate that organization, but man, they got that right. Right? Like you can always find some. I'm not exaggerating. I'm sure there are some things, and if I sat down and really thought about it, but off the top of my head, I cannot think of a decision rendered by the NCAA since 2010 where it's like, man, they get everything else wrong, but boy, they nailed that. They got that right. Like everything they have done has been pretty much a dismal failure.
Have I shared with you my theory that Mark Emmert is actually a Manchurian candidate and that his incompetence is a feature, not a bug?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's the Occam's razor explanation. Yeah. To think that, like you, I am totally befuddled by how a man of such little ability and such evident incompetence has stayed in a leadership role for so long. And the crazy thing is, theoretically now, Ironhead, and this is an entirely different conversation, but theoretically, the people who make the decision about the presidency of the NCAA, these are university presidents. These are supposed to be like the smartest people in the country. Now, again, we could go back and forth as to whether or not that's the case, but you would hope that it is. Yeah. And the system is really broken if you have dumb people in positions making dumb decisions to empower even dumber people. And that, to me, seems to be what's going on with Mark Emmert, unless he was put in there intentionally to manage the downfall of the NCAA. It was ironic. I was talking with Goon, and he was listening while I talked because his voice is gone, which is why I'm filling in for him today.
Yes.
But before we started the show today, I said, think about this year's NCAA championship. You had North Carolina versus Kansas. So in one corner, we have a team that was caught and admitted to keeping its basketball players eligible by giving them fake classes with fake grades, and nothing happened to them. In this corner, we have another program that nothing has happened to yet, but they've got 5 Class 1 NCAA investigations open on them as we speak. And that's your national championship game. If that doesn't indicate that you have totally lost the threat as what that organization is supposed to be, I don't know what does.
Yep. And again, I really don't see at this point how the NCAA turns it around enough to survive. Again, maybe the term NCAA remains in place, but that organization, as we've known it, will be dissolved, and something will take over in its place.
So could Division II and Division III, they could probably govern themselves very effectively.
Yeah.
One of the biggest complaints about Division I is that it's too big, and so the Power 5 schools get to write their own rules, and then everyone else gets lumped in the same category. It's kind of like back when Pennsylvania only had 4 classifications of high school.
And listen, I think at the end of the day, that might be something that as we try to envision what this is going to look like, this being intercollegiate athletics moving forward, maybe that is one of the things. And I've been saying for a while that I don't think it would be the worst thing to have those Power 5 as the whatever the term you want to use, Division 1A or whatever, and then have that next group. And listen, you can have some like you've had with when it was 1A and 1AA, and you had Penn State would occasionally play a Colgate in football and what have you. But I'm not saying you can't have MAC schools taking on Big Ten schools, but they're clearly not. They are in the same league, the same way the Philadelphia Phillies and the
Pirates.
Altoona Curve and the Pittsburgh Pirates are. Exactly.
Sorry.
The Pirates and the Curve,
fruit.
Pirates, Curve, Spikes, all minor league organizations. And the Phillies, you can't expect teams that are in the minors, like the Pirates, like the Curve, like the Spikes, to be playing, at least with any regularity, against Major League Baseball teams.
It's actually,
that's
we're joking about the Pirates, but it's actually not a terrible analogy because there's no salary cap in baseball.
Yeah.
And the fact that you are being asked to compete against teams that can pay one player more than you're paying your entire roster, that is like the difference between like Kent State or Akron trying to go up against Ohio State, right?
Yeah. And again, if you are a sports team that can fully fund whatever sport it is you're competing in, in wrestling you have the 9.9 scholarships, football the 85, basketball I don't even, is it 13 or 14 now? It has varied a little bit over the year, but whatever. If you can fully fund it, then yes, to me you should be in that league, division, whatever we're going to call it. But if you can't, and listen, it's not just at the Division I level or the football,
So say again, if you can't fund it, you should be out.
Well, no, you should be at another level. And
I mentioned that only because there are 2 programs in the Big Ten in particular that would not qualify.
Well, and listen, and
the 2 most recent additions.
And here's another point along those lines. There is and probably not of tremendous interest to folks tuning into this show, but in the PSAC, there are teams there in football, and I don't have the exact numbers, but have around 38 scholarships. I don't know if it's 38, 40, but somewhere in there.
That's the small Pennsylvania, your Slippery
like
Rocks,
the
your
Lock Havens, but and some of them. So some of them are fully have the full scholarships for that level. And forgive me, I don't know offhand what that is, but I think I want to say it's 38, but it's close to that. But there are other teams in the same conference that have like 4 or 5 scholarships. Yeah. Well, that is also absurd to be asking teams to be, because it's 2 different worlds. And listen, even in like wrestling, Lock Haven has, I think it's now 5-ish scholarships in wrestling. Obviously, the size of the school and everything factors in too. But yeah, a team with 5 scholarships is not going to be able to compete with a Penn State with 9.9.
Sure.
In addition to all of the other resources and all of that. But just on the straight, if I have almost twice as many scholarship athletes in a sport as you do, again, could you capture that once in a lifetime moment and beat that team? Of course, it's sports. Crazy things happen. The Pirates made the playoffs for a couple of years in a row there. So it's amazing what can happen given the right circumstances. But over a 10, 15, 20-year period, again, you might have that one opportunity, that 1 year where they're down a little bit and for whatever reason, everything just aligned your way.
Yeah.
But that's what you're looking for. Like that's the best case scenario for those schools in that situation. So, I think figuring out figuring out a way to even the playing field. And again, it's never going to be even. And I understand that there's tradition, there's additional resources that are available now with the name, image, and likeness stuff, as Goon has talked about. I mean, Los Angeles and Happy Valley are not going to be able to offer the same package. So there are some things that you're just going to have to deal with. But from a scholarship offer, again, there are some things you can do to, all right, let's at least try to make this relatively level footing for the teams and the programs that are involved. Mm-hmm. If nothing else, you want to have competitive games. And to that end, one of the things that has kind of, and I think we've talked about this at some point over the years here with this show, but men's gymnastics, people will talk about, well, it's you can win a national title in men's gymnastics because there's only like 25 teams competing. Well, that's all of the best gymnasts in the country are going to one of those 25 teams. It's like the NFL in that regard. There's only 32 teams. Yeah. Nobody says, well, of course you won the Super Bowl. There's only 32 teams.
Right.
Yes, it's 32 teams with the best football players you can find anywhere on the planet. Like that is, and so, at the end of the day, if you had the 5 power conferences, again, there's still going to be just some disparities there, and I understand that, and that's the life. Again, not everything's ever going to be, and nor really should it be completely level and even. But at least you're starting from some sense of fairness and equitability in terms of the opportunity that is presented, and what you do with that as a school or athletic department, again, then falls on you. But I do think that it's something that they whoever is going to govern college intercollegiate athletics in the future needs to take a long look at, and not just it may be that we change it up too in terms of all right, you have the Power 5 for football and basketball, and then you have and maybe there's more in basketball because there's more, there are more mid-majors and et cetera that can fully fund the basketball. But maybe in football, and then again, maybe wrestling goes down to 50 schools that say, it makes sense from our budgetary concerns and our overall commitment to athletics and programs. We're down to 50. Well, again, if it's if all of the best high school wrestlers are going to, and I'm not advocating this, don't misunderstand, but if all of the best wrestlers are going to 50 programs, well, now instead of getting, a great wrestler at Bloomsburg or a great wrestler at Cal Poly or a great wrestler, now, again, the more you narrow the opportunities, the closer, and again, I think Penn State and Iowa are still going to be at the top on a consistent basis. I do. Do I think whoever would be the 45 to 50 teams would be pretty consistently in the 45 to 50? Yep. But there's going to be, again, more opportunity, I think, for movement within that. And again, I'm just using wrestling because I know it, but I'm saying for field hockey, for lacrosse, for swimming and diving, for all of these sports, again, athletic departments are going to have to, I think, start making some difficult decisions. And again, I think a sport like wrestling at an Iowa or a Penn State remains solid. I think, sport like hockey at Penn State remains solid. But there are going to be some schools, I think, that, again, as this thing continues to evolve and you start to see how the name, image, and likeness stuff factors in, along with the scholarships and all of the resources that are going to go into funding a big-time D1 program in any of these sports. Again, I think that landscape is going to continue to change. And I think from a like everything else we've been talking about, I'm going to be longing for the days of the 70s and 80s, but I don't see any way that the model as we've known it is going to be able to sustain itself moving forward with all of the financial pressures that are now in play, along with all of the other pressures that have always been there. Yeah. And now with the transfer portals and everything else that's in play. I just, I don't know. I've been saying for a while, I don't know how this thing shakes out, but it feels to me like that this is part of how this shakes out. And I don't necessarily know that I'm hoping for or against some of what I'm talking about here. I just think it's the way it's going to play out. Right? Yeah, I just think it's the way it's going to play out.
We hoped the NL wasn't going to add the DH, and yet here we are.
Yep. So, we'll see it again. I could be wrong. It could shake out completely differently, but it feels to me right now with some of the crunch. And listen, where lacrosse is big, it's big. Where wrestling's big, it's big. Where women's gymnastics is big, volleyball, all of it. I mean, so there are very few of these sports that aren't going to be able to find some home. Right, across at least 30 schools or so, I don't think. But, yeah, it may greatly shrink in terms of the opportunities for high school kids that are looking to get to the collegiate level. And, again, that's going to be the downside. Now, are they still going to have opportunities to compete? Yes, but I'm talking about scholarships. Athletes. Sure. And listen, there are that's another debate that we could probably have someday. And truthfully, I could argue either side of it. I love big time athletics. I love the opportunities that it gives kids to get to college and have that experience and benefit from it far and above the athletic experience. But, there was a time, you go back far enough, scholarships didn't just come with American universities starting up. That wasn't athletic scholarships. That was not part of the equation. And there was a time, albeit a long time ago, where you went to school and, hey, you want to play some football? We have some guys coming out and playing football. You have some guys coming out and wrestling. And again, you go back to the, 10s and the 20s and 30s and Penn State's schedule in any sport. It was Bucknell. It was Pennsylvania schools and neighboring states. Yeah. And that was about the extent of it. Every now and then you would have a game in some of these sports outside of the, that region. But, you certainly didn't have what you have now, where all of these teams are playing. And listen, obviously now with Penn State in the Big Ten, it's rare, more rare than ever over the last, what is it, 30 years now, almost 30, that since Penn State joined the Big Ten, that you're having an opportunity to just drive to a game that is only 3-4 hours away in, again, just about any of these sports. That's the exception, not the rule. So I don't know. It's going to be, I think, fascinating to see how this thing evolves and what all comes from it, and what the governing organization, whatever that organization is, looks like, and how it gets comprised. And it may be, you may have a governing organization for the Power Five, as we know it, the Power Five. You may have another governing organization for the mid majors. You may have another governing organization and they may just get together and interact. And hey, let's see if we can partner together on this or that, or we're going to go our separate ways on these deals. I don't know, but that feels more likely to me than kind of this big umbrella that we have right now with the NCAA. Because listen, let's be honest, the needs and the desires of a Penn State and an Ohio State are wildly different than a Florida Gulf Coast or a San Francisco State University. I mean, wildly different. And I don't know that, again, having one organization saying, because there are things that make sense for a Penn State or for the Power Five conferences when it comes to name, image, likeness, when it comes to providing food opportunities. Because, again, you're getting athletes that are competing at the very highest level, many of whom, I shouldn't say many, some of whom will be competing at the next level once they finish up that collegiate experience. And, very few and far between at some of these other universities will ever have that opportunity or even get that look. And so, again, there's some different, from a training standpoint, from a academic workload standpoint, there's all kinds of different things that factor in. And I think, I just think eventually, and I think it's going to be much sooner than later, you're going to have these schools and athletic directors getting together and saying, listen, this is, and basically, I mean, truthfully, you've already had that, right? I mean, the Power Five conferences have dictated what is happening with name, to a large degree, name, image, likeness. Certainly when it comes to the food that is now available for student athletes and on down the line. I mean, I
think a lot of people realize the NCAA does not run the college football playoff.
Yeah. Well, that's a great.
To me, like when the Power Five came out and said, like, "Hey, we're doing this," I was like, "Okay,
right.
I see what's going on here."
Yeah. So, again, Masters did get underway today. Tiger, I haven't been since we've been on it. I think it was 1 under, right? As of whatever that is now, half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I'll have to say they're obviously keeping tabs on him. It's, I don't know. This is a fun day with, again, Major League Baseball getting underway.
Yeah.
Pirates coming up a little bit later this afternoon.
Think about the last 2 years we've been talking about these events too. Isn't it nice to just have it feel normal again? It
is. And I do think,
there's people in the gallery. There's fans in the stands at Wrigley Field. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I was talking with somebody about just how different the NCAA wrestling tournament was last year versus this year for that very reason. I can only imagine. And, listen, we the wrestling team's banquet is coming up on Sunday, and I always look forward to it, but I'm like jacked about it this year, and it's kind of ridiculous that I'm as excited about it as I am. But it's been 3 years between banquets now, and it's just fun. For me, it's just fun to interact and talk with the fans and have some fun with the kids and the seniors in particular as they get ready to finish up their Penn State experience here and head out into the so-called real world, and to hear their perspectives as they'll get up and give their senior speeches and everything. So it is nice, and it is fun watching. It was amazing. I mean, I know we talked about it on Tuesday, but watching the crowds that were following Tiger during the practice round on Monday, but it was so cool because it did feel like, okay, this is life as we've always known it in this country before the pandemic, at least in my lifetime that we've known it. And it is more and more. And listen, I get it. The pandemic, I just had, it's still with us, and it always will be. And much like the flu, I mean, we will lose people every year, and it's horrible, and your heart is going to ache for the people that are going through it. But life does go on, and it feels like we're kind of coming to that recognition now. And yes, we're going to a very large degree, get back to life as quote unquote normal and allow people to interact and be part of these experiences. And for sports, again, I think it's a big deal because that social interaction, for those of us that are sports fans, that is a big part of our social interaction, getting together with friends to watch the Pirates get blown out by the Cardinals, getting together to watch the Penguins beat the Rangers tonight, texting back and forth too, but going to a Penn State baseball game at Midler Field at Lorano Park, being able to watch that in person and have the experience of looking out onto Mount Nittany and hearing live and in person the crack of the bat and the whole bit. Yeah. It's a big deal, and I think people have been chomping at the bit for that opportunity. And I know, I mean, we've been to varying degrees having that opportunity throughout the course of the last 6 months here now, 7 months, but more and more we're getting back to just kind of full steam. Yep, this is everything.
It's starting to feel like we're getting a full calendar of events that are back to normal. Hey, before we go, I'll let you decide when you want to do this, but Goon can't talk, but he can type. Yeah. And so he sent us his own personal over-unders on the Pirates and the Phils win total for the year. So anytime you want to do it, we can get into that. I'm just giving you that. By the way, Alan, our good longtime fan, sent us an update. Tigers even through 15. Gotcha. Yep. And we're just watching him now. And is this for par or is this for birdie? I don't know. I missed I looked up here and he's lining up a fairly lengthy putt, but certainly a makeable one. And he drained it. I think that is a birdie, right? He went back to 1 under. I'm sure that's got to be a birdie. Yeah, 1 under. Yes. How excited do you think the folks at CBS are right now? Because ESPN's excited at the moment. I get it, but CBS has the weekend. Thrilled. And I get that nothing's assured right now, but I mean, if they need him to make the cut, right, for the viewership to spike, but if he is actually in contention, and at the moment he is certainly in contention, how many? How many majors is he behind now? Nicholas, I think he's behind Nicholas by 4. Is it 4? Right? I couldn't remember if it was 3 or 4. Yeah. So we're still talking a pretty heavy lift, but yeah. Man, what a story! That would be fun. That would be good. But you feel like he's going to be whipping up the the dream right now for CBS and for Tiger. Right? It's Sunday. Here comes Tiger. He's limping up and smack. Like he did with his bad back that year, and just willing himself around the course. And I don't know, but I'll tell you, his swing. And listen, I'm not. Yeah. I don't want to pretend like. Yeah, I analyze the swings, but it even to somebody that's as amateurish as I am. But when you listen to the experts, I mean, the experts are telling you, the swing, like the issue is going to be getting around the course for Tiger. The swing is looking great, and obviously his putting, and he has a great feel, obviously, for these greens. I mean, this is his. His ultimate course. I think his ultimate objective has always been. Majors overall, but this is, I think, unquestionably the tournament that he cherishes the most. And I think, truthfully, it's why
I think his rehab, and it's amazing that 14 months after, an accident where they were saying they weren't sure he was, and I think they were genuine, they weren't sure he was going to be able to walk again.
Yeah.
That this is the first tournament he comes back for. And you better believe that rehab from day one has had this weekend in mind as the target. And obviously, through the well, not quite through the first round yet, but through the better part of the first round, he has gotten himself to a point where he's at least very good, even by his standards.
Do you find yourself having to remind yourself that he's old now?
Yeah, I tell you,
I do.
I have to remind myself on so many things that I know they have that new Wonder Years out, but our buddy Horace in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, when he last year, he's like, you realize that there's as much difference now between our graduation from high school and if the Wonder Years, and this was before the Wonder Years revival show came out, as the Wonder Years from our high school, which when you look back at it, and again, I do understand how the time perception ratio changes as you get older and the years go by faster and it's, more of your life when you're younger. I get all of that. But when you were in the mid 80s, when I was in the mid 80s, like the 60s did seem like that's an eternity
ancient.
It's 20 years.
Yes.
Not even. I mean, so that, now it's even more. It's
like I'm watching.
It is hard to wrap your mind around. Well, hard for me to wrap my mind around the way time goes. And so many things that I'm like, oh yeah, that happened a couple of years ago. And they're like, that was 2013. It's like, right, a couple of years ago. Oh, well,
a
9.
decade, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm watching March Madness and Hubert Davis is coaching UNC.
Oh.
And I'm just like, God, like I remember all of this guy's college and pro career. And now he's a head coach.
Well, it's happening to me with the
like Drew Brees is a commentator now, and it's like, man, I remember when Drew Brees was a freshman at Purdue
and impressing as a freshman at Purdue.
Yeah,
yep.
That crazy Joe Tiller offense is never going to work in the Big Ten. That guy's on crack.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It is amazing. All right, let's get to the over-unders.
Okay, so here's what Goon's got. Do you want to do your beloved Buccos first, or do you want to join me and do the Phillies before that?
Let's start with the minor leagues and work our way to the major leagues.
Get to the okay.
I will tell the dear Goon where that number should be would be like 58.5. Are they going to get above 58.5 or
do you really think
I do think they're going to I truly and I obviously I hope to God I'm wrong, and I really would love this team to just
set your expectations low and then you'll be pleasantly surprised.
There you go. There's probably part of that that is in that for me with the prediction, but I also, my God, that starting pitching rotation and that lineup. I mean, I know there are a couple of young guys in there that have some potential, but man, oh man, I just think it is going to be a really, really long year for that organization. And I hope I'm wrong.
It is 3 on Tiger and Masters. It's 18-15 and majors. And just for some reference, his first win at the Masters was 1997, 25 years ago.
Holy cow.
He's a young guy. That Tiger, he's the new young upstart on the tour,
just crazy.
As far as I'm concerned. Okay, so,
all right, so Goon, I'm going to say Goon has it at 62.
64.5.
Oh, good.
So you're laughing at that.
Yeah.
Like that's,
I'll take the under all day long, and I think that's an easy win for me.
Yeah.
Sadly. I mean, I hope, obviously, I truly do. I hope.
But I think it's going to be closer than you do. I think they'll get like 63, maybe. 64 even.
I think, I don't see them matching what they did last year. All right.
And they were 61 last season,
yeah.
you said. Yeah. and they're really bad. Yeah,
And then they've been pretty good at swooning. Like once it, they've made some decent runs, like almost toward 500, and then it's like, it's September, let's just pack it.
They rip off like a 14-game losing streak. Yeah,
so
sure.
That's also in the back of my mind for the way and I don't think they're going to be anywhere near 500 for any length of time. If everything breaks right, maybe for a week, but after that, I think they're gonna. It's just going to keep sinking and sinking below 500.
So the Goon over-under on win totals for the Pittsburgh Pirates is 64.5. I am going to look up here what the real ones are, and so I'll give you the Phillies next, and I'll let you say how you think they're going to be. He's got it at 86.5. First of all, good number.
I think that's about right. I was going to guess that he'd put it at 85. So yeah, we're in the same ballpark.
And what do you think?
Listen, he said 86.5.
Yes.
I'll say, man, I think that's going to be really close. I'll say just under, but I won't be surprised if they go over that. But I think 85, 86 is kind of what I was thinking. So I think he's right on as far as where that mark should be. I'll say under, but I'm not. I think within a couple of games of that, either way is where that's where the Phillies are going to be. Yeah, I don't think the Pirates are getting anywhere near.
Well, I told you I was going to look up the official over-unders here. I found them here from SI.com.
Yep.
You almost nailed the Phillies. They have the Phillies at 86. I'm going to go over there. I think just like if I had to pick their win total, and this is before seeing Goon's over-under, I think I would have said 80, 78 games. So I'll take the over, but like real close. It's a good number. And then the Pirates, Ironhead. SI is even more bullish than the Goon by a full game. 65.5.
Although still, the Diamondbacks are the only team that's even close at 66.5.
Yeah, let's see. Is there anybody in that appears to be the lowest in the majors? So they think the Pirates are going to be worse.
The majors. They just don't think it's going to be as bad as
the A's. They have the A's at 69.5.
Yeah,
it's a tough division too.
Diamondbacks, man. Yeah, that's interesting. Where do they have? Where are the Yankees at? What do they have? 91.5. Blue Jays at 92.5. Yeah, that's going to be. I think that race is, and I'm a Yankees hater, but I do think that race is going to be fun.
Yeah,
with the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Rays.
So the best, according to SI, they're expecting the best teams in the AL to be the Yankees and Blue Jays, who are within a game of each other. Yankees at 91.5, Toronto 92.5. They got Tampa at 90.5. The White Sox 92.5, and the Astros 92.5. Those are the teams that are above 90 wins in the SI preseason over under in the AL. So again, the Yankees, the Jays, the Rays, the White Sox, and the Astros. Now in the NL, they've got the Braves at 91.5, which
the Dodgers have to be
makes sense. Oh yeah, wait till you see the Dodgers. Brewers are at 90.
Well, I actually probably would still take the over on the
Dodgers. Are 99.5.
Well, that's about right, though. That is
the Yankees of the 21st century. If there's a player, we'll buy him.
Yeah. There's nobody. What's the next? Padres in the division, 87.5. So 12. Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
Brewers at 90. I guess that's probably about right.
Well, they're up 1-0.
I think
the Cubbies right now.
I think the Brewers Cardinals is going to be. I think that's going to be an interesting race. I think the Cardinals will be a little closer than what they're projecting in the
St. Louis at 84.5. I'd take the over on that.
I would too,
or 84. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Be a fun baseball season,
how about
except
this,
for those of us that are Pirates
They've got
fans.
the Mets at 90. I don't think I'd put any money on the over 90? On that one. Yeah.
No.
Now, again, this is preseason, so maybe these numbers came out before the injuries on the pitching staff.
Yeah. Well, that could be.
But either way, yeah, I don't know, man. It's not a great sign when it's opening day, and the best thing the Pirates have to speculate on is whether they can somehow win more than 64 games.
Yeah.
That is not inspirational stuff.
No, it is not. Penguins, meanwhile, see, I like to focus on the positive. I am fired up for the Rangers game. And listen, I do win or lose these last couple of weeks, and they've lost some tough ones here, but man, they are fun games to watch. And I probably say this every year. The amount of really good teams in the NHL is really impressive to me, because I keep thinking, okay, man, we got through that stretch of tough games, and then you turn around and it's like, oh, it's just the Avalanche and the Rangers that are on the docket for the weekday. It's like, it's impressive, the gauntlet that you're running through right now.
Listening to you talk.
I know. Right now, well, that's the way it's like going to be for baseball.
It's like going to Skid Row and explaining to somebody that you've only been able to find a house with a 3-car garage, and you're really frustrated.
I hear you. Nope, I hear you.
There are so many good teams in the NHL. You know who's not one of them?
I do. But listen, we're just looking at it's the same in Major League Baseball. There's a lot of really good teams out there.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think this is going to be a fun.
I think there are going to be some great races. I really do. That American League East, I just think. I mean, I'll be rooting like crazy for Toronto and Tampa.
Sure, I think probably most.
But I do think.
Fans.
Whoops, sorry about that.
We're good.
Yeah, no, I'm knocking around the camera.
Ooh, hey,
sorry, that was me. I do think it's. Like I said, I think the Cardinals and Brewers are going to be in a battle here throughout the course of the year.
Well, and it's kind of cool to have some of the non-big money franchises that are contending, like to have Tampa, Toronto, San Diego.
Yeah.
Even though like the White Sox are like theoretically like a big money, big market team, they have not played like it really the last 25 years. So they're expected to be good. It's nice to see some different teams in there in contention. Sure. And I do think the Phillies are going to be a lot of fun to watch. Their offense is going to be highly entertaining. Now, the defense could be questionable. The biggest question mark for Philadelphia, well, it's probably their bullpen always, but their starting rotation might be really good.
Yeah.
Or it might have all kinds of problems. And you're really just not going to know until we're a couple months into the season.
No,
but this is the most reason you have had to hope as a Phillies fan since the early 2010s.
And listen, the Pirates starting rotation could be pretty bad or just god-awful. We don't know yet whether they're just going to be pretty bad or god-awful. The bullpen, we do know, will be god-awful.
You'll be watching that AL East race closely because you want to know which team is going to be in contention to send picks and prospects to Pittsburgh at the deadline.
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Always the item that holds your interest if you're a Pirates fan toward the end of the summer months. All right, let's see if Tiger makes this. That's another makeable putt. It is fun having the Masters back
normal,
giving you something to do if you can get home early in the afternoon. Or if you're one of the very fortunate people, and it's not because you're out of work and struggling, but if you have the ability to just take Thursday and or Friday off and watch the whole doggone thing, that's a whole lot of fun. I will say, I really am impressed with just the way Tiger looks. physically, and I know he was kind of like, there's definitely a different gait, but it wasn't like he was hobbling when he was walking around. And again, I get the difference between 9 holes in a practice round, and we'll see how he is on the back 9 if he gets there on Sunday, and how the gait is holding up. But man, you wouldn't know. And obviously, I get we don't see the leg itself here, but I mean, watching him maneuver around, you would not think this is a guy that might not have been able to walk. Wasn't sure if he'd be able to walk 14 months ago, for crying out loud. He does save par there, so 1 hole to go, and he's 1 under. And again, the folks at CBS
they are rooting him on big time.
Starting to realize another big day tomorrow, but they're starting to sense opportunity to cash in on some additional ad revenue over the course of the weekend. Speaking of the weekend, we hope you have a great one. What do I have to lose at this point? Go Phillies tomorrow. Go Pirates for whatever it's worth.
Sure.
Go Penguins, and go Tiger. I want to see him. I don't necessarily care if he wins, but I do want to see him in contention. I just think it's fun for the sport if he's at least in contention, certainly when Sunday rolls around. But we hope you have a great weekend, and we will talk about all of the weekend sports when next we get together Tuesday here at Quaker Steak and Lube. Until then, be good and be safe.
Peace.
Best 2 out of 3?
It's one fantastic ride. The turbocharged, tech-inspired new Kia Forte.
There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube. From live music to exciting new flavors, meet your friends and refuel at your local Quaker Steak and Lube today. Can't slow down? Then order online. Pick up and get back on the road. Find us at thelube.com.
You know, we humans have come a long way on our journey. Our first language wasn't exactly, a language. Medium well, thank you. Our first vehicles weren't the fastest.
Can you,
Faster. Hey, boys, punch it! Our first maps weren't that accurate. And you know, fellas, the world is actually, you have a ball. Our first phones weren't smart. Text mom winky face emoji. Our first screens, you couldn't touch.
Mom, Dad's feeling the TV.
No one likes a snitch, son. And the first electric vehicles weren't, let's just say, they look nothing like the first ever Ioniq 5. I mean, 2-way charging, AR heads-up display, 300-mile range. What can't this thing do? Look, the point is, it's been a long, yeah, good point, really long journey. But worth it. Your journey at its most evolved, the fully electric